Good afternoon, everyone. Hope we are all really well today. Welcome to today's session and next edition of Spotlight On. My name is Matt McDermott. I am Chair of Advisory Board and founder of the Multi-Academy Trust Association. Fingers crossed today it's a smooth session. I am in a glass room at a conference venue, so hopefully the Wi-Fi holds up all fine. But I have two special guests today, which we'll get on to shortly on our topic of well-being. One from an organisation who really supports and endorses better well-being within schools and trusts, but the other one also a trust leader themselves. So we have both sides of the coin here today. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We are hopefully live across YouTube, X, and most importantly, LinkedIn. It is a live and interactive session. So if you do have any comments or any questions towards our panel today, it'll be my job to put them panelists to those questions. So please do get involved in the chat, and this one will also be available on demand as well after the session. I believe that's everything. So we'll get on to welcoming our guests, and we'll start with Catherine Lester. So I'll add Catherine onto the screen. Hi, Catherine, how are you?
Hi there, Matt. I'm well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me today.
No problem. Can you give us a bit of a summary then to your role within Leo Academy Trust?
Yeah, sure. So I am one of the executive directors of Leo Academy Trust, and my main role currently is the joy of developing and training leaders within our organisation and beyond, and also training with very many different personal learning pathways that we have. And also another real joy of mine is to work with our newer schools to onboard them into our family within Leo, to make sure that they have all the opportunities that we have to offer as an organisation. For those of you who don't know Leo, it actually stands for Learning Excellence and Opportunity, and those are the things that we really wish to instill within our learning communities.
Brilliant. And just kind of set the scene then on Leo, how large is your group of schools?
Yeah, so we're a group of primary schools. We have 9 academies within our trust, 2 which are fairly new this year. So that's been really great to be growing. We have around 4,600 pupils, from tiny people from age of 3 to well, they think they're quite grown up at 11 these days, don't they? So that's our age range that we have. And we have around 650 members of staff, which span professional business services, education teams, premises and teams as well. And within that, we also have 6 nurseries. So, yeah, we started off with 4, then we went to 6, and now we're at 9. So it's been a nice, and I think next year we're actually 10 years old. So it's been a really nice growth pathway.
Yeah, amazing. Well, lots of development there then, Catherine, and sounds like you've got your hands full as well. Plenty going on. I don't doubt that for a second. And secondly, I will welcome on Selena. Hi, Selena, how are you?
Oh, yeah, really well, thank you. Thanks for being here.
Good. And Selena, you're obviously the other side of the coin, like I mentioned. You talk to a lot of schools and work with trusts as well. And just give us a bit of an insight quickly into Amazing People Schools, some of the work that you do.
Yeah, thank you. So we're an online learning platform, and we use diverse role models, past and present, to raise cultural capital, find out who they were, be inspired by their stories, but also to draw out the strengths that help them to overcome challenges that they and other people faced as well. So a lot of people are interested in us for EDI, diversity and raising representation, and we can talk later about the wellbeing aspects of that as well, but also the strengths-based approach and looking at the links between developing those character strengths and supporting mental health and wellbeing.
Brilliant. That was too well rehearsed almost. That was smooth. So
I'm very used to telling people.
We'll come on to a bit of an open question then to begin with. We'll start with yourself, Catherine, and where we think the kind of current state of well-being, where we're at really in the sector at the moment, what you hear kind of day to day.
Yeah, so it's really important for us in our trust that, you know, that we really take care of the mental health and well-being of all of our children, but also of our work colleagues as well. So it is one of our priorities this academic year, is to really work on that that aspect of that, and also it's about really, we believe that really promoting positive mental health as well, as you know, a really important part of our curriculum and design and the text that we read, and that's where we've had a real great collaboration with Selena, actually, from her Amazing People schools, where we've been able to collaborate with her on our latest project, which is thinking about children and staff being Leo explorers and what they might need to develop in order to function in this world where, you know, we're hearing all the time about people's mental health and the things that are happening in the world, as certainly do lead to people feeling anxious and having anxiety and all the other things that come with you know, not feeling well in yourself. And so we've been really working hard to make sure that we are thinking broadly around that, and making sure that our curriculum and the diverse roles that we are using, our texts that we're using, really highlight people that have had issues around anxiety and mental health, but more importantly, what they've done to overcome those barriers in learning. And that's been a great project that we have done with the help of Selena, who's, you know, as I said, has been really instrumental in that. I mean, with one of the biggest things is children facing anxiety. Some, you know, a small minority about coming back to school after the pandemic. We've noticed that that's been a real trial and testing for some children and their families, and so it's about having those strategies in place to be those people that care and encourage and help to help remove those barriers and help children back into an environment where they can thrive and flourish. To do that, we've really heavily invested as a trust in our inclusion team, which comprises of a team centrally, but also within our schools we have mental health first aiders and people that can also, you know, I'm sure many of you are familiar with that, people that can really help young people to feel well in themselves and to thrive. And that's our main concern, as well as academic achievement, that each child develops as a whole. One of the things that we have been really successful for us is we start in reception, year 3 and year 5, those transition years of doing mental well-being screeners, so that we're getting a really good view of how children are feeling, so that we can put interventions in place, we can make adjustments to our curriculum, we can catch it before it really becomes an issue. We've had some really great success with that. And some of the interventions that we've put in place, one of my favourites is well-being woofers. And it's, you know, the therapy dog that is really helping children. I've got a quote from one of the children that have had this therapy, and it's been, you know, I actually enjoy coming to school now. Lester, that's not me, that's the dog, has helped me not to worry and to go back to my school happily. And I think, you know, that says it all, isn't it, when we can really put those interventions in place to help have people young people thoroughly happy and you know, ready for what might lay ahead. So that's a little bit of a flavour of what we've been doing. It's been a great piece of work.
Brilliant. Yeah, so much going on there, Catherine. That's great. And Selena, does that kind of line up as to what you hear right across the sector then?
Yeah, it does. Clearly, you know, schools are reporting huge rises in reported, you know, mental health and well-being, and, you know, struggling in some circumstances to really know how to deal with it. And I was talking to an assistant head recently from a senior school, they had a pupil saying that they had a lot of anxiety going into assembly, and also sort of into the hall for an exam. And within a week, that had escalated to sort of 50 people saying that they didn't want to do that. You know, that their anxiety was such, and clearly it's not feasible for schools to provide 50 different rooms all monitored for the exam period. So absolutely echoing what Catherine said, I think there's also a need from schools to, in amidst the acknowledgement and the recognising of the need in some situations for professional mental health support, but also needing to give students the tools and the wherewithal to really recognise that in many cases they have the strengths inside themselves to overcome that anxiety. And yes, it's challenging, and yes, it's difficult, but you have to go through it. You have to, you can't always go up and over it. I always think of the children's book that were going on a bear hunt, and you can't go over it and you can't go under it. You've got to go through it, and to build resilience and to build your strength, you sometimes need to go through those challenges. But what we've found is that we're very influenced by positive psychology, and the research is really very strong in terms of how using your strengths and using a strength-based approach absolutely supports your mental health and your well-being. But quite often people don't know or don't recognise in themselves what strengths they have. And so I think it's really important to begin to recognise the strengths that you have already and how they relate to well-being, and then recognise the strengths that maybe you don't have as readily, and that applies to Catherine's 3-year-olds, and we go up to 16, and definitely all the staff as well. Some of them won't feel as automatic to us as others, but they all can be worked on. We're not born with finite amounts of perseverance, of resilience, of optimism. It's not a limited amount. We can learn to develop these actively and explicitly, and by doing so, we can support our mental health well-being. So for us, it's about sort of helping young people recognise that they can create their own toolkit for helping them to face challenges and to face. It doesn't mean that they'll never feel anxious again, but it's, well, what can I do when I do have those feelings? It's about having that strength-based approach to recognising that they have the tools to be able to meet some of those challenges, a lot of those challenges.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Selena. So yeah, that sets the scene pretty well there. Now, Catherine mentioned obviously coming out of COVID, a lot of kind of issues that then arose coming out of COVID, and changes in behaviour, especially to anxiety, for example. Just out of interest, as a trust, Catherine, how you can probably feel it when you walk around a school, whether the well-being is improving, but how do you kind of report and measure an improvement in well-being?
Well, as I mentioned before, we have a mechanism in the screeners to collect data on the children. That so we will do those screeners, analyse those, and then put in various interventions where they're needed. And the latest trust report just back there in that spring term was that 76% of pupils who had an intervention or some kind of had reported then that they had were feeling better in themselves, and had seen an improvement in their attendance, and having seen an improvement in their well-being and how they were feeling. So they're more self-confident, more their self-esteem had risen. And I think 76% is a huge rise for that. So that is a really great thing. But also, when you walk around our schools, there's this real great buzz and feeling of belonging and being part of a family. And I think that is a really important thing for young people and for older people, that idea that you belong and that you're valued and that you're worth. And I think that, you know, that is so ingrained in what we do, and I suspect in many trusts. But, you know, it's important to us that children feel belong. You know, they belong to Leo. They are part of our family, and we care very deeply for them, including the wonderful support that we have for their own families back at home. We have a team of family support workers who have done a phenomenal job in getting children back into school, supporting families with, you know, the ever-increasing difficulties and problems that our families are facing nationally. And, you know, we've seen a huge improvement in that, and the data suggests that, you know, that is an improving picture for families as well. So that kind of answers your question, Matt. It's you know, there is some hard and fast data, yes, but also there's that feeling and children and the softer data, feeling happy, feeling valued and belonging.
Yeah, no, don't worry, you absolutely answered the question with way more depth than I could ever give, so don't worry about that. And Selena, I imagine when the children's well-being is better, that filters right the way through to the school and through to the staff. Is that something that you're aware of as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think it does, and I think that you know, we record. We have various ways, sort of records and journals and different ways of sort of recording strengths, and the wellbeing side is very much fed through that. But I think that when schools really adopt this sort of strength spotting idea, and those links have been made between the developing the strengths and their well-being, and it's been recognised as to how they reduce stress and anxiety and release endorphins and dopamine and such like. We've had several feedbacks from teachers who have reported their students saying back to the pupils saying back to them, you know, oh, miss, you know, do you need to you know, do you need to be practicing your resilience, or your you know, whatever the thing is. So we've had several teachers coming back to us saying they've been doing. There's one teacher I remember saying, and her story, and then at the end of the week she'd come in and sort of said, you know, good morning class, and they said good morning, and how are you? And she said, well, actually, you know, and she had a little bit of a moan, and they all sort of went silent and sort of said, oh, do you think you need to be a little bit more like Frida Kahlo, and do you need to be developing your resilience? And she said it was brilliant because it was right, but also it really showed that they'd taken on board that, you know, that was one of those times that she really needed to be using her own strength. So yes, I do think it filters up to staff as well.
Yeah, that I wouldn't mind being a fly on the wall of you know, 7-year-olds asking their primary school teachers about resilience.
Yeah, indeed.
That's quite funny, actually.
Yeah.
And Catherine, you've touched on kind of in the opening question, actually, you're well ahead of me, on some of the practices that you've adopted as a trust. What's kind of the one that really stands out as where you could see a difference right away?
Oh, that's a really great question, Matt. And I guess the roundabout question is roundabout answer is that it's a combination of many things. And I think firstly, it's the complete dedication of the staff that work in our trust that really care for the pupils that they work with. And also they really care about each other. So that's a really good thing. It's our team approach. But I guess, you know, we've got many different things. I mentioned the family support worker. That's been fabulous. Training mental health first aiders. That's been a really great positive initiative that's happened. And I think nationally that is something that many schools have now. It's really great. Some of the other things that we've had that we've adopted has been drama therapy and pupil counselling. And also, I think another thing that sometimes goes a little bit under the radar is how many children are actually young carers. And so we have a really flourishing group of in each school of young carers that are looking after perhaps a poorly parent or have someone in their family that needs that care. So we do have a voice for them to come together and to, you know, do some art therapy or to bake cookies together or you know, just things like that, to know that they're not alone. Another huge initiative has been the emotional literacy support workers that are really well trained and in every school. And I think their role on catching early children that have some anxiety, or you've just had the heads up that they're, you know, that their family situation might be changing, and so getting in early with that emotional literacy support has been really great. But another fundamental thing that we've done and seen it's been so important is having a really good look at our curriculum and making sure that there's some changes made to that, given the things that are currently happening in the world. So, for example, we've changed up a lot of our reading texts to actually be about people that have overcome barriers or issues. And we have a new initiative that we've been working with. It's very in early stages, but it's actually a group of our principals, and we all got together, and Selena's been involved in this as well. But we got together and we thought, well, what are the things, what are the kind of characteristics or strengths, as Selena was saying, that children and people will need to help them? So we've come up with, you know, a collection of 10 things that we think are really, and we called them our Leo Explorer characteristics, and they are really embedded into our curriculum. So, for example, being empathetic, we think that's a really important skill. You know, being kind, being collaborative, we think that's a really important thing for the future. Resilience, as Selena said, and also curious. We think that's really important, because sometimes, you know, being curious about yourself and about your situation can also help you to be a problem solver, which I think is really important. And to be forward thinking and, you know, not always accepting things on the initial first reaction of your own experiences, but looking beyond those. And so those are some of the things that we really put in place, which have, and I can't forget, in each of our schools, we have an outdoor learning section or a forest school. And that's been so important. You know, the whole class goes, yes, of course, or a year group take it in turns, and it's their session. But then we've actually started nurture forest school. So children that have anxiety or struggling just get that extra bit of time outdoors with our wonderful teachers that teach forest school, and have that opportunity to be out and about and have that freedom. So to be themselves in that environment. So yeah, just lots and lots of different things. But I think those things that stand out to me as being things that have made a difference so far.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I'm sure that schools and trust listening can take lots from that. And I did display a comment on screen saying so wonderful to see such a strong focus on mental well-being in schools, because, you know, it's a huge issue and not always front and center of the headlines, I guess. So yeah, as you say, absolutely.
I was just because I've visited a few Leo schools, and I think what Catherine just touched on there is really nice, is that I think it is about embedding these ideas through different layers of the school. You know, that it's not sort of that we do well-being at, you know, 2:00 on a Thursday afternoon, you know, but it runs through the stories of the role models of overcoming challenges and difficulties, because that then relates to challenges, but through geography, through science, through history, and so I think that sort of interweaving of that is just really important, that it goes through all those different elements of the day. So it's a part of the messaging in assembly, and it's part of the discussion time, it's a part of the nurture, you know what I mean? It's not just demarcated, but it becomes a part of the conversation of the fabric of school life. I think that's really important.
Yeah, not an allocated time for an hour a week to focus on it, but just running throughout absolutely everything. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, we'll finish up in a couple of minutes, but just a few kind of key points. We've got a QR code at the top of the screen that will take you to the page of Amazing People Schools. I'm sure Selena would be happy for anyone to reach out whether there's any comments about today's session or would like a bit of advice. And Catherine, maybe the same for yourself as well. Happy
Sure,
to share that
yeah.
practice. Yeah, brilliant. Well, yeah, any questions that also come through from this session, we'll either try answer on socials. We can always record a video clip, or I'll forward them on to yourselves as well. So amazing. Any closing comments from either of you both?
Yeah, I think too, we've talked a lot about children, and of course that is a huge focus, is at the centre of everything we do. But I also think it's really important to value our colleagues and think about their mental health as well, and think about work-life balance, and think about addressing some of the issues that are currently that we're facing, because healthy, well and happy staff make for healthy, well, happy schools. So I think it's really important. Just that would be my closing comment, is to focus on helping, having a really great people strategy with people at the centre.
Brilliant. Yeah, really good. And we're seeing some really real success in these 4-day working weeks as well, for teachers, especially trusts with larger teacher pools and teaching hubs too. So yeah, really good practice that seems to be shining through more recently as well. Selena, any closing comments from yourself?
I think to echo what Catherine just said, really, is that, as educators and all teachers in school, all adults in school are role models, whether they want to be or not. They are being observed, and they are being they are being seen, and I think therefore it's particularly important that as the adults and as the senior leaders looking after those adults, that we do model what we want. There's no good talking to children about showing kindness to ourselves and looking after ourselves and having our own boundaries. And, do you know what I mean? Having our own, if it's really evident that we're not modeling that. So I think absolutely what Catherine said, and that need to really recognise that, yes, absolutely, we need to put on our own masks first, and model those good behaviours that, from our point of view, from a Straits point of view, we need to really think, well, creativity is a fantastic way of feeling great about ourselves. What do I do for myself? Am I just going from school to working at night, sort of hunched up over a desk, so it's about living it as well. And I think that then resonates with young people so much more effectively.
And ending on a really good comment there as well. Someone appreciating it just not outside of the school and outside of the trust that they may be at. So Catherine, Selena, thank you very, very much for joining us. I'll end the live session there, but any questions that do come through, let us know, and I'll be happy to connect anyone up to Selena or Catherine. If you two just stay on, I'll say my thank yous and goodbyes as well, and I'll end the stream there. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.